Good morning and welcome to the fifth quarter AZ. I'm your host today, Tyrone Johnson. Our typical host and co-host, Mr. Danny Neal, he's not in today, but we have our guest host and Mr. Flag Coco himself, Russell Woods. How you doing this morning, Russell?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited. I plan on going back up the mountain tomorrow morning to watch the Peaks Invitational and a little football, and we got the kickoff classic going off in Sky Dome starting today, and we had volleyball last night. The Panthers uh, came up with a big region win against Prescott in comeback fashion. Flag High played Arcadia, and Coconino cross country, they started their season on Tuesday. And girls came in fourth in the Hopi Invitational, boys came in sixth. So we're starting to get busy. We're starting to get rolling on the fall season.
Yeah, no, it's a great week. Just, those first games, first meets. It really gets things kicked off. So for the football invitational, that's tomorrow at Sky Dome. How long will you be there?
Uh, I'll be there probably. See, there's 3 games today. There's 3 games tomorrow. Uh, I think the Flag High game is scheduled for 7 o'clock, but they always run a little late. So
Right.
I'll probably be there around 6 o'clock and make the rounds and say hi to everybody before I settle down in my seat, probably next to John and Carrie Wetzel, and enjoy the Eagles.
And the game's supposed to start at 7. That's the start time, or is it 7:30?
Well, they've been scheduling it for 7 o'clock, but I know how these things work. They always run a little late. So probably, I mean, you don't want to cut it too close. There's plenty going on. But if
Right.
you're there about 7 o'clock, you should get a good seat and not miss a second of action.
Yep. And we had Coach Cookie on last week, and she was
Mhm.
excited about that Hopi Invitational. And so you said the girls were fourth and the guys were sixth.
That's what I see here. I don't think the Smith girls were competing in that. Sometimes uh, they just since Wheaton is usually a top 10 runner and whatever. She wasn't. I don't think they competed this time, but I'm pretty sure they'll be there for Peaks tomorrow.
Okay. And with the Peaks Invitational, of course, Flag Coco. And then, do you know, is it just more region teams that will be there, or do we get teams from top in the valley, so on and so forth, to come up and try and run this high altitude?
It's mostly regional. You get a few schools from the Phoenix area to give it a try. Sometimes you get teams from California. I mean, it's a fairly big tournament, not a massive tournament. I mean, it's certainly big for the regional schools. Yeah, you'll get. I don't know if you'll get Sal Point or Rio Rico or some of the usual state powers, but yeah, you'll get a few from Phoenix and Tucson coming up.
But it's a great gauge for like the regional runners to see who they're up against early on in the cross country season to see where they need to improve time wise and as an individual and collectively as a team.
Well, it's also one of the traditionally it's one of the few meets where Flag High and Coconino compete directly.
Mm-hmm.
This year, of course, Coach Taylor last week was talking about how both teams will be in Division 3, but typically Coconino's Division 2, Flag High's Division 3, and they just don't compete against each other very often. But the Peaks has always been one of the few where they do every single year. So it'll be nice to see Wheaton Smith going against directly against Mia Hall.
Yeah,
Uh, that's going to be fun.
absolutely, absolutely. And with this, the football season, like I say, kicking off tonight, tomorrow. What are you expecting out of Flag High and Coco both?
Well, Flag High, since they're playing tomorrow, let's talk about Flag High first. Um, they've got 2 quality quarterbacks. It's going to be interesting to see who Coach Sean Manning puts to start. They've got Brock Meyer, who's a junior, who's the brother of Bodie Meyer, who had a really good year last year. His grandfather is Steve Meyer, who coached for Coconino in the '80s. So he's a book smart kind of quarterback. You've also got freshman Chase Brown, uh, cannon of an arm. He can launch at 50, 60 yards and hit his receivers in stride. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sean Manning brings both quarterbacks in, who he's going to start and in what situations each plays and how much rope he gives each quarterback before he pulls to the other one. I think that's going to be interesting because I don't high schools don't have quarterback controversies, but if you got two quality quarterbacks, you certainly want to make sure they both get their reps and they both get their playing time. Um, Coconino for the last 4 years has been dialed in. They are a running machine. Uh, Last year it was Cooper French's turn to break 1,000 yards. I think he had 1,554. I expect Coconino to try to pass a little more. Over the last few years, they've tried to work the pass in more and more, but they're still going to run the ball 90% of the time, and they're still going to run for 300 yards every game because that's who they is. That's their identity. They know who they are and what they can do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if they can get any kind of passing game going, they'll be a dangerous team, and they'll be a threat to make a nice, healthy run in the playoffs.
Well, that's what's up. And, speaking of Coco, speaking of the Panthers, speaking of running games, our guest today is certainly one of the greats, one of the best that's ever done it. Came out of Coconino High School, went on to NAU, went on to play some professional ball. Actually, is kin to me. Russell, I'm going to go ahead and let you bring on our guest for today.
This man's been a hero of mine since career day, I believe 1984, when I was a sophomore at Coconino, and he was fresh off the Winnipeg Blue Bombers winning the Grey Cup. And he came in for career day, and every jock in the school was crammed into Miss Newell's classroom. So this is a real treat for me to bring on from Coconino's class of 1977, Willard Reaves.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Doing well. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Up early. I gotta hit the campaign trail here. Sometimes this afternoon, got a lot of meetings, and I'm going to watch some high school. Actually, I'm going to watch some high school football because I was working out with one of the high school kids that used to live next door to me, and he's a junior in high school, and he's actually going to be starting for the first time. A sophomore or fresh or junior is going to be starting for Oak Park.
Nice. And yeah, we definitely appreciate you joining this morning. We know that you definitely got a busy life with the campaigning and just taking the time to holler at us. We definitely appreciate it. So, just looking back on your career and stuff like that, what's one of the most memorable things that you have from your high school playing experience?
Well, it's going to have to be the rivalry between Flagstaff and Coconino in my senior year, where everybody predicted Flag High was going to just walk all over. And in the first half, they held pretty good. They went into the locker room 7-0. And the only thing I can remember is Danny Cox saying, "The game is over now, right? It's over. We got this, right?" I think it's because they scored first, because every time, whatever team scored first, they always, during the rivalry, which I was involved in, they would always win. And I agree with that. But coming out in the second half, you couldn't stop the Panthers. We rolled over them, and we were talking about the running game, and we just went completely batty, just ran roughshod over the Eagles in that game. I think I had something like 220 yards, 4 touchdowns, and we just never let up, end up winning it.
Wow, 220, huh?
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun.
That's good stuff. And so just tell us a little bit more for people that may not know you or be familiar with your career. Just tell us a little bit more about yourself and, just your career and the career path that it took you on into where you are now.
Well, once I left Coconino, I went, of course, to Flagstaff High School. I was being recruited by pretty much all the major universities in the country, but I decided to stay in Flagstaff, Arizona, because my family's here. My mom, of course, my biggest fan. She went everywhere in high school. Didn't care how the weather was or where it was. My mom was in the stands, and I think that made a big difference in terms of my thinking as to where I was going to end up playing in collegiate football. And Northern Arizona, of course, growing up, going to Skidmore Field all the time and getting run off of there because got our little football games. We're pretending like we're the Green Bay Packers or whoever you want to be. But I always wanted to be a lumberjack. And when the decision came for me to decide where I was going to go between that Clemson, USC, and places like that, just picked Flagstaff, Arizona, Northern Arizona. I was going to be a lumberjack, and that was a good start because I had great coaches. I mean, I had Joe Salem, who was new at the time I was in high school. He recruited me and a couple other people, and it really didn't take a lot of convincing where I was going to go because some of the things as I'm growing up, what I wanted to do. And of course, one of those things was to be a lumberjack. So, going through the university, 4 years there, and strange story, I didn't want to actually go and play professional football. I wanted to go back because I wanted to be a police officer. I was always involved with a lot of things in Flagstaff, in the Flagstaff community, being a civilian observer with the Flagstaff Police Department. They had a great program there and met a lot of people that I grew up with, such as Rick Parker, who became a firefighter at the time. Chief Madden and Chief Latham, and people like that, Bobby James, some of these guys who steered me in direction that I was so lucky and so fortunate to have these people in my life. And like I say, I didn't want to play professional football, but Chief Latham and when he was chief of police, he talked to me about it, and he said, "Look, not a lot of people in Flagstaff, Arizona, has gone this far who can actually make a huge difference, who can put Flagstaff on the map. Right. Just go try it. Go try it. And if you don't like it, you can come back and fall back on your career that you want to be a police officer." And so that Saturday, I was headed to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and the rest is history. It was with Green Bay, and then up in the Canadian Football League for 5 years, and then came back down with Washington and then Miami. And you couldn't ask for a better career and a better guidance from a lot of people. I mean, we're starting back in the day, Homer Townsend, Mr. West, Mr. Kofelt, Mr. Redmond, Mr. Curtis. Eric Curtis was one of my mentors when I was growing up, and he was a great principal. He told me exactly what things need to do and how I need to start acting, because that was a little bad little thing back when I was a little kid. And Mr. Curtis, of course, back in those days, you get when you act up, you got to paddle. And Mr. Curtis gave me a couple of whacks, and not to mention Mr. Townsend, who is truly my hero in life in terms of how things evolved. And what's his name was talking about, I did something when I was at career day, and I asked everybody, what are they going to do when they go to college? One guy, I said, how many of you guys are going to university to play football? And of course, a couple of guys, they raised their hands and stuff like that, and looked at him and said, you're not going to make it. And they said, well, why is that? I said, because if you're going to university to play football, you're not going to make it, because you're going to get an education. You're not going to play football. Football is something you can do later on, or while you're doing it, to get your education. Right. And I think that that hit with a lot of people, and that's what Mr. Townsend did to me. So I use that psychology on people that I went to speak to, especially people at Coconino and other places around the country, and here in Canada as well. And motivational speaker, whatever you want to call it. I've been speaking at a lot of things, and speaking with the youth that's growing up today. I can say that we delivered a lot of kids to the right area.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. Panther football has had a bit of a resurgence the last couple of years, and I know you've paid a little bit of attention. Yes. But when you were going to school at Coconino, which I believe when you were a freshman and sophomore, the Panthers were winning state championships.
Yes.
What was it like going to Coconino during those years, knowing you were in a jock school and a football-oriented school, and what was Bill Epperson like?
Oh, you know what? To say this mildly is an understatement. Bill Epperson was one of the best things that ever happened to me in my football playing. I know that guys that came before me, such as guys like Ray Smith, Greg Stroud, and all these people. Bill was just a really, really good coach who looked, and who, if he thought you had just a little bit of talent, right, he was gonna get all of it out of you, right? I think Coach Epperson got out of me something that I never thought I had, right? Because I always looked up at people like Marvin Hatcher and Ray Smith. I mean, these guys were my heroes in high school, and you know, Rick DeCosmo and all these guys. It was, but to have that relationship with Bill Epperson in my junior year, it actually started in my junior year, and him. I didn't start in my junior year. I didn't start the first couple games or something like this, but every time I got in the fourth quarter, Rob Walker was our starting running back. He was a middle linebacker as well, but he was also our starting running back. And Robbie would rush he would carry the ball maybe 15, 16 times for like 60 yards or something like this. I would go in, I would carry the ball 6 or 7 times for 134 yards. I remember that a couple of times. And my first start, of course, was against the Winslow Bulldogs. And I ended up in my junior year having about 160 yards rushing against them, but no touchdowns. And it was at Cromer Stadium. And I think we played to a tie, but we won the Arizona playoff where we go into overtime. And the team that I guess scored first or charged at into their first drive and stuff like that will win the game, and we end up winning it, right? So, but we were not the powerhouses in my junior year, such as the Panthers and the Winslow Bulldogs. It was Snowflake that was the powerhouse in my junior year. But we played some great football, and when you talk about Bill Epperson, I remember a conversation we had after playing Tolleson in our first game. We ended up beating Tolleson down in the valley. And me and Bill were standing there before we got on the bus. And I just looked at him. I said, you know what? We're going to have a good season. right? And I said, just give me the ball. You know, I promise you, I'll give you everything that I have, right? And he did. He gave me the ball. He trusted me, and our relationship spanned for so many years. And the greatest honor that I had is when I was being inducted into the Northern Arizona University Hall of Fame. It was Bill Epperson who presented me, and that was one of my proudest moments I've ever had.
Another question I have. I mean, I got a lot of questions for you, but unfortunately, we only have so much time. I try to be prepared, but when you went to NAU, your first year, freshman year, was also the year that the Sky Dome opened.
That's correct.
Um, what were games like those first couple years in the Sky Dome? And
wow.
did you go to the rivalry games when Flag High and Coconino were those first few games in the Sky Dome?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, playing in the Dome, Phil Kansick always dubbed it as "this is our house," right? Mm-hmm. We do not lose in our house. And when we played my first couple of years there, my freshman and my sophomore year at Northern Arizona, it was unbelievable. We packed that stadium every single game. We packed it up, and I mean, in my sophomore year, of course, we won the Big Sky Conference, and in my freshman year, I mean, I don't know what type of arrangement the NCAA had at that time, but we actually won. We didn't win the Big Sky Conference, right? But our record was better than a lot of other teams that was going in. And it ended up Boise State got in instead of us, and it was weird how they did it back then. But the fans, the people, the coaches, Joe Salem, his staff, and whatever. I mean, like Joe Salem was at all our home games at Coconino if they're not away, watching and stuff like that. Of course, I was doing the recruiting phases of my senior year in high school. But going to Northern Arizona and playing among some of the greatest players that NAU's produced is unbelievable. I think my class produced some of the most Hall of Fame inductees in Northern Arizona history. I mean, you know, from my hero from high school, Ray Smith, I got to play with him for 2 years. You know, all these guys, and it was very special. It was very special, especially playing in front of your home crowd, playing in front of my mom and dad and everybody like that, you know, and friends that I grew up with, you know, playing football at Skidmore Field, as they call the old Lumberjack Stadium at the time, to you know, playing in the Sky Dome, and you being a part of that and being a hometown product to boot, and starting, right, and having a great career there. So I wouldn't trade that for anything in the
world. Can I keep going, Coach?
Yeah, go ahead. You get another question in, and then we'll do a time check, and then we'll see what to what. But yeah, go ahead. Get another question.
That's fantastic. I got 100 of them for him. You mentioned how you were recruited nationally. You said yes. USC and Clemson were taking a look at you. Yes. But that was in the mid 1970s. I know you have two sons that play professional sports. You have Ryan playing in the NHL and Jordan's in the CFL, and I'm sure you watched how their recruiting went. What's the biggest difference between recruiting now and recruiting back in your day?
Well, I think the biggest thing, I think the problem, I would look at them as a problem. The reason I say that is because teams know that recruiting some of the top players in the league doesn't always translate to what they did, say, in high school to university. It just doesn't do it that way. With my kids, you had to I had to, not everyone, I had to make sure that I was always there, making sure that it being taught the right way. Little did I know, like hockey, forget it, you're not getting me on the ice. You're not going to knock me out. But I had the fortunate thing for Ryan and Jordan is to have good coaches that taught them how to do things. Ryan, of course, me Ryan and Jordan, I was their coach growing up when they played football. Right, I want to make sure they did it right. Make sure if they're going to stay in, that they need to know what the ups and downs of it is, and that's what they did. And I wouldn't allow my kids, when my kids wanted to do something, no matter what sport it was, my only model was this: we sign you up, you will play the whole year, right? You can't quit. If you don't like it, you're going to play it, and you're going to give 100% to the team. And I think that's what has translated over the years with my kids, because they know that dad is watching, and you're not going to quit. If you're playing, not playing up to the potential I know you can play to, well, yeah, dad's going to call you. I'm not going to yell at you. You're a grown man, but I'm going to tell you what you're doing, right? You need to pick it up, and this is what it is, right? You get to the point where you're not having fun with the game itself, then you need to walk away. And that's what pretty much what I did when and going toward the end of my career, where I was ready to go for another year, and it was just not in me to do it, right? And I walked away from it. In 1990, I retired, and I just completely walked away from football and started my career. I was a sergeant here with the Sheriff's Department for over 18 years, and that's what I want to do. I want to serve the community, and pretty much what my kids are doing right now. They're not only keeping their chin up, doing things for the community, getting out there, supporting youth football and whatever things that the city asks them to do. They're doing a very good job. They're outstanding gentlemen who's giving back to what they were given by not only myself, but by others who took the time to teach them how to play the game.
And as we wrapping up on time, we gonna ask you a couple more questions in the end, but one before we get to what we call a golden nugget. When you played for Washington, you guys were the Redskins. Yes. What do you think of the change of names and the commander and all that good stuff?
You know what, to me, the Washington Redskins, it's just a name, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think people should be politically correct in saying that their name is slamming or something. I think it would be an honor. Just like we have with the Edmonton Eskimos, right? They had to change their names to the Edmonton Elks because they thought it wasn't politically correct to call them Eskimos, right? The Washington Redskins, the Chicago Blackhawks, all these things represent Indigenous people. And I think it's an honor, right? I grew up with Indigenous people in Arizona. Mm-hmm. Some of my best friends on this planet are Indigenous people. And to learn their culture, to give thought to what we're actually going through. I spent all on the Indian Navajo reservations, right? And some of the best times I've ever had was spending those times there, right? And for a football team or a hockey team or even a university team, they changed their name just because now is politically incorrect. I think I think people just looking just to complain about things. Mm-hmm. It would have been an honor in my mind to represent Indigenous people with the name, a mascot that I had, because you know what, the Fighting Sioux down in North Dakota. I mean, these guys are winning football games. The Washington Redskins winning Super Bowls, and the Chicago Blackhawks winning the Stanley Cup. These are things that that typifies what we are as a people. It gave credit. It gave substance to what they thought, because you know, back in the day we always said, "Ooh, the Warriors" and this and that and whatever. They were hard fighting, proud people, right? And I would have been honored to have my football team or my hockey team or something like that named after Indigenous people, because they are proud people. They're warriors. You know, they work hard. They're just getting a bad rap from people who try to do things that they shouldn't be doing. I think everybody should be treated in the most respectful way they possibly can. But we always find ways. Societies always find ways to discriminate, to try to take away, to try to put people down, and that is not right.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And so for the golden nugget question of the day, you had mentioned obviously being a hometown guy, coming up in Flagstaff, choosing to stay at NAU, going on and having a professional career. Then, as Russell alluded to, also having sons that have a professional career. It's kind of a two-part question. Okay. A, what does it take for an athlete themselves to be able to mimic the success that you had? And then B, from a parent's standpoint, what is necessary to raise athletes to play at a high level?
Well, to mimic, let's start with your first question. To mimic a person, don't mimic the person that you're watching. Okay? Learn from that person. Learn all the skills that he's done. Maybe go and talk to him. You know, how he got there, and be better. Be a better person. Okay, make the person that you're talking to say, "How did you get to this point right there?" You know, talk to him. Let him tell you how he did it, right? But you do it better, right? And about the kids growing up as a father who has two professional athletes in his family. I never pushed my kids one way or another, right? I just gave them rules when they played that you will not quit, right? You'll give it your all, right? If you don't like it, you don't play the next year. That's it. But never give up on something that you think that you may like, because like me, I was very surprised when Chief Latham and talked to me about going to the next step, you know, finding out what my potential could be, right? Be the person that we know you can be, right? And at the end of the day and stuff like that, be kind to people, you know. If you think you're high and mighty and this and that, that you can't talk to people because of your status in society, such as a professional athlete, this and that and whatever, you lose it. Be a person of outstanding character, respect others, even if they don't like you. I mean, I have so many people, like in Saskatchewan, for instance, right? They do not like me because why? Because I always ran over them, right? You know, but the respect that they have for me and I have for them is the fact is that I played the game and I played it well. And that's what every single person should get from it. Learn the game, play the game, and play it well, right? And at the end of the day, when the lights are off, you know, you make sure that the character in which you is on the football field translates to that off the football field or whatever field that you so happen to be inclined to be.
Yeah, well said, well said. Folks, definitely appreciate you taking the time to come out on the show and just impart some wisdom on us today. Great chopping up with you. I mean, I think heck, the last time I seen you was probably at grandma's funeral. So, you know, it's always good to, you know, just be able to see you and just chop it up in situations such as this. So definitely appreciate your time this morning.
Okay, cuz. Be good.
All right, you too. You too.
All right.
All right.
Hey, I'll see you later.
All right now.
Bye-bye.
All right, Russell. I think that does it. Another great show. Of course, a great guest. Just real awesome to sit up and be able to talk with Willard. And I could see on your face, it was almost, like one of the little child seeing their idol, just to be able to sit up and chop it up and ask the questions.
Well, this is why I do flag Coco. I mean, to talk to Willard, to have afternoon-long conversations with Stan Gill and David Winsley, and I look forward in the futures. Some of the kids you've coached that I've watched. I'd like to have this conversation with like Grace Linez in 20 years and what she's learned, being an Eagle and in college and wherever she goes from there. This is one of the big reasons why I do this, is to have these kind of talks.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. It's awesome having legends come back and, current athletes be able to participate. So hopefully with this show too, we'll be able to bring those conversations to people a lot more frequently than what's been in the past. And so that's our goal of the show as well. If everybody, if you're liking and enjoying what you're seeing, please go ahead and subscribe, hit the like buttons, leave us a comment. We want to bring you what you want to see. And so we appreciate you tuning in. Russell, safe travels when you come up. Enjoy your day. I don't know what all you doing today. I don't know what all the people doing today, but one thing I do know, they ain't got to go home.
But they can't stay here.
Peace.